His girlfriend after shocking admission comes out overnight. The country's most current notorious mass shooter is also to the most mysterious one, as his life and crime have remained shrouded in secrecy since Sunday. Authorities have been reluctant to release any information on his motive, but the person who holds the keys to his life leading up to this killing spree is now not as innocent as she has pretended to be. Stephen Paddock's longtime live-in girlfriend, 62-year-old Marilu Danley, was forced back to the United States this week from the Philippines after her boyfriend committed mass murder. Danley said that she had been living with Paddock up until about 2 weeks ago, when he allegedly sent her on a trip back home to visit family. On arrival, he wired her $100,000, which she said was to buy a house there for herself. She told authorities that all of these sudden surprises with the trip and the money had worried her, that he was planning on breaking up with her. None of this seemed to make a lot of sense as the information was coming out, and it turns out there's probably a good reason for that. Marilu isn't so innocent and has just been busted in a massive cover-up of her boyfriend's horrific crime because of what she was caught trying to hide. Despite how questionable it looked that she suddenly disappeared before this massive, well-planned attack, and that she got a large financial gift with it, Danley insisted that she knew nothing of what Paddock had planned. She played the part well of the shocked lover and claimed he was caring and kind, but it turns out that they are both liars. It seems impossible that someone can live with another person that they are in a relationship with and be completely blindsided by an attack like this, which took months of careful planning. The question has always been, how did Danley miss all the obvious details and red flags along the way? Turns out that she didn't, and she knew far more than she led authorities to believe, based on a bombshell just dropped on her by her next-door neighbor, who just blew the investigation wide open that Danley perhaps isn't the damsel in distress she purports to be. A 68-year-old neighbor of Stephen Paddock said she saw the girlfriend Marilu Danley moving her belongings from the home in early August. Gateway pundit reports. She filled up her car with her belongings and ever tied some things to the roof of the car. Marilu Danley is lying to authorities. But that's not all. In an exclusive interview with Sun Online, Susie Page, 68, who lives next door to Paddock and his girlfriend Marilu Danley, said, "It was the talk of the neighborhood what on earth he had stashed in the safe. It was as big as a refrigerator. I lived next door to him and his girlfriend and never once got as much as a smile out of him. They had barely any furniture in the house and nothing in the yard, the shades were always down and it was like they were not even living there." However, the timing of Danley's move in August seems to suggest that she may have known a lot more than she's saying, considering what Paddock was caught doing at about the same time. Mrs. Page also revealed how Paddock, 64, fled town after buying a new silver minivan at the start of August. And just 2 weeks later she said she watched as girlfriend Marilu Danley packed her things into her car before also leaving. Page added, "I remember at the start of August looking out of my window and seeing Stephen pull up in a brand new huge silver minivan. But just a few days later he left the house in it and was never seen again. I thought the whole situation was even weirder when 2 weeks later I then look out of my window again to see Marilu stuffing her car full of all her belongings. Over the course of 3 or 4 days, it was like she was moving her entire life out of the house. She packed so much stuff, not only was her car full, but it was also tied to the top of her car. After a few days of packing, she too pulled out of the driveway and was never seen again." Danley did describe some disturbing behavior to authorities that she witnessed from Paddock, explaining that had been exhibiting mental health symptoms. According to NBC News, 2 former FBI officials briefed on the matter say that Danley told investigators that Paddock would sometimes lie in bed moaning and screaming, the Daily Wire reported. She said he would lie in bed, just moaning and screaming, "Oh my God," the sources told NBC. While this would be an unsettling issue to deal with out of someone you're in a relationship with and certainly raise some questions about his stability, it can't be the reason she packed up everything and moved out. Her timing of the move at coming 2 weeks after Paddock was moving things around in his big new van definitely seems questionable. It seems to suggest that she knew it was time for him to carry out what she'd been watching him plan for months. She was not just home with him one day and he surprised her allegedly out of the blue with a plane ticket to another country for a sudden trip, as she said. She moved out long before that happened and was gone when his attack came to fruition. Thank you for watching this video. What do you think about this? Share this on Facebook and Twitter along with your comments.